Hi everybody, welcome to episode 11 of the Teesside Business Podcast. Today we're lucky to have Matt Jordinson from Fresh, which is a fantastic meal prep company based right here in Teesside. Thank you very much, Matt, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Mike.
So we'll jump straight into it, as we always do with everyone. If you wouldn't mind telling all our watchers and listeners a little bit about yourself and how you went through your career and came at Fresh.
Well, basically, with myself, years and years and years ago, right back to the school days, I was never really good at any sports day. Sucked for me. No sports teams. Never got picked for anything. Wasn't very confident in myself. I made a bit of issues with my body image when I was at school. When the rest of the guys would go off at lunchtime and get a chip butty splash with gravy and curry sauce, etc., I was the one hitting the Nutri-Grain bars to get in shape. And through that lack of confidence and self-esteem, I kind of wanted to get involved in something to help, get better, get healthier, improve the way I look, that kind of thing. So I started going at school to a gym, a local gym in Stockton, a typical bodybuilder's gym. I used to put the free weights away there on the night time and hose down the showers at the end of the night, and I was rewarded with a free training session and a protein shake and a banana. So that's that kind of got me into the fitness industry, well, the whole sort of fitness realm, if you like, whatever. And I started to feel good, started to feel confident, put a bit of muscle on, dropped a bit of body fat, and started to feel kind of like accepted into like a group, the gym sort of environment, and I felt good from this. From there, went on to college, university, done your normal sort of sports courses, and one day back in the day, I was working in a sports shop, and one of the guys there said, "Oh, Matt, I think like career-wise, you should maybe go to some type of coaching because you're always keen to help people, like lose weight, give them tips, etc." So that kind of like steered me towards going to do my personal trainer qualifications, because I gathered that I could help other people feel good the way that exercise and the whole health and wellness thing made me feel. So I thought I'll put that into practice. Done a personal trainer course, became a PT. I've been a PT now for about 16 years.
Good.
So it's a long time. I'm only 21-year-old as well, if anyone's...
The long paper round.
I wish. And basically done my PT. I've trained loads of different people from different spectrums of the industry, people who just want to lose weight and tone and feel a bit more confident, people who want to go on stage and compete in bodybuilding shows, people who want to get in shape for fights, people who people who are business minded and they just want a bit of a release and a bit of stress release, that kind of thing. So sort of train every sort of angle of everyone, basically. Been doing that for, like I say, 15 years. Do a bit of online coaching with customers as well and clients, and right up to this present day, and I've now got 3 businesses. So I've got my personal trainer business, I've got Fresh the Meal Prep Co, and I've got a children's education business as well called Physica. And that's kind of like where I am at the moment with things, Mike. Cool. That's what's brought me to today.
So we'll focus on Fresh, obviously, for a moment. We're talking about like Physica and the work that you do in the community in a little bit. So how did you come up with the idea of Fresh? Obviously, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I really recommend that you go check out all the links below and everything, obviously, for Matt's site and social media. The meals look incredible. You've got things like Parmos on there and you've just added a load of different menu items to the full menu, haven't you? So it's not just a case of you getting Tupperware with some white fish and a couple of asparagus stalks in it, it's amazing stuff. How did you come with the idea of doing it in Teesside?
Well, basically, I kind of sat there and I thought a lot of my customers, a lot of my clients for personal training, they struggled, it's breaching that gap of preparation. I mean, for people like me, for people like yourself, Mike, it's quite easy for us to sit there and plan and prepare and, cook our meals in advance. That comes second nature, especially people in the fitness industry as well. But for your general everyday customer, your general everyday client, they might not have the time or have the priority management factored into their day to do that. So I kind of thought, there's a bit of a gap there to breach. I got in contact with one meal prep company just to basically see if I could get a bit of a a discount for my clients, really, to sort of entice them to buy. So it makes my job easier. I'm going to retain more clients. I'm going to get more clients. I'm going to get better results.
Yep.
If my clients can be accommodated sort of food-wise. I did contemplate at one time actually just taking them shopping. Like, they can hire me for an hour, and I'll be their little trolley dolly. I'll be their little bitch. I'll get all the food in, and show them what they should be having and stuff like that. But obviously that's time consuming, and I hate shopping anyway, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, from there, Hutch Meal Prep Company, you got a bit of discount and sort of give that to my clients, and then I kind of thought, hang on, like, I could do this. Like, it seems right up my street. I like food. I like helping people and making systems, putting protocols in place, procedures. I thought, that's something I could sort of look into. So I give it a bit of thought. I put a few shout outs on social media, as you do, because that's where everything comes from these days, social media. So got in front of a few people, a few chefs, and sort of pitched my idea to a few different people about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go about it and what the big sort of idea was, really. And it all seemed like such a small thing at the time, such a little small idea, a simple idea, but it just kind of just blew up out of nowhere, really. Just day by day, week by week, just got bigger and stronger, new ideas, new directions, new menus popping up left, right and centre. So it sort of got real big real quick. And we were supplying like local football teams, local sports teams, businesses, schools. So it just kind of just developed like that, really, Mike.
It does, yeah. And you do have quite the great thing about it is obviously for I imagine it's obviously a massive time saver for people who've got their own business, etc. Because they all come already done. You just need to heat them up, etc. And they taste phenomenal. But you've also got the other end of the spectrum where they are tailored for people who are looking to get in shape and at the highest level as well. Like I know that you've got one of your clients, Kelly Jo Robson, was just at the Commonwealth Games a few months ago in Australia. And I know that she uses your meals and stuff like that. So it is great that it can be used like for everything. I always think it's a bit of a strange thing that if you go to like Newcastle or Leeds, etc., we've talked about a couple of times on the podcast, you see these businesses already, but it was a brand new idea at Teesside. Do you think the people at Teesside have been accepting of it like a meal prep company, or are they a bit funny about it, or like is it one of those things where your target market is already looking for that need, so you just kind of filled it yourself?
I think that's the case, Mike. I think my sort of targeted marketing goes towards those people who are aware of meal prep. I don't get a lot of kind of like average Joes who don't train or aren't mindful to the whole meal prep thing, putting in orders. The majority of my customers, I'm not going to generalize, but I get quite a lot of like personal trainers, a lot of their clients. I get a lot of a hell ton, shit ton of like CrossFitters. They love the stuff the CrossFit crew. We had a CrossFitter, and I think it was on episode 2 or episode 3. And it's a community that's getting bigger and bigger in Teesside. So it's like a good thing that that goes like hand along with it. Like CrossFit's great. I've done a bit myself a few years ago. Really enjoyed the whole mentality around it, the whole community. So I'm very supportive of that whole movement. Just as with any movement, really. Like I say, I've worked with a variety of different coaches, like Thai boxing coaches, etc. And I guess it's
it's a good fit with it, like a lot of the stuff, like, and health and fitness is something that is getting bigger and bigger in Teesside, thankfully. Like there is quite a large community of it. I wanted to talk to you a little bit as well, because obviously you started yourself as a PT, and then during your time, obviously, you spend quite a bit of time as a manager, going to see different gyms and stuff, and then working like with PTs, and you've probably seen like the good and the bad of all like the fitness industry that's around. As far as Teesside is concerned, is it in a good place? Is it like, the fitness industry is a bit of a funny industry all of its own anyway. Is it a good place at Teesside? Is there, a good quality of people who are helping coaching people, or is it a bit behind in other areas? I just wanted your input, kind of, where we are, like, as a community, basically.
Yeah, over the years, I've been a regional manager, assistant national manager. So I travel up and down the country, up to Scotland, down to London, etc. So I've mentored, coached, and helped a lot of personal trainers and a lot of coaches. Like you say, a big massive scale of like levels and mentality around people in business, etc. But generally this area, out of all the places that I've mentored coaches, it's been a fairly good standard. Yeah, it's been a really good standard, especially in this day and age with the exposure of social media. There's a lot of like good people putting the good vibes out there, rather than discrediting people and looking for an argument and stuff in a dispute on Facebook, keyboard warrior style. People are more inclined to help people and coach people, and there's a lot more like mentoring going around these days, and sort of free workshops, and there's a lot of help out there. So I think the industry, the personal training industry, fitness industry is growing like exponentially, really. And it's kind of good. I've found personally over like the last kind of 2 or 3 years, the industry is uniting a lot more and helping each other out for the greater sort of goal, which is helping everyone essentially. I think the days of slagging each other off and all the dick measuring that goes on social media, I think them days are pretty much crushed now. In my opinion, anyway. Or I might just be completely unaware in my little magical world where everything's beautiful. But I think in Teesside especially, there's a lot going on. And like I say, I've been as far down as London and far up as Scotland, and everyone seems to be at roughly like the same sort of level. Going from one place to another, there's not like a drop in standard or
massive gap.
I'd say it's all fairly like equal and everything throughout.
So one of the things we always like to talk about, obviously, what you did obviously is within personal training and working in your various other roles. I know you were very like business minded, and when you set up Fresh, you approached it in very well as like not only something that you wanted to help people and add value, you also wanted to structure it as a proper business. Obviously you thought very carefully about your marketing, etc. that you did, and obviously the social marketing that you do and everything is fantastic for Fresh. When you were setting up that business, what kind of things did you pay specific attention to? What kind of advice would you give others who are in the fitness industry who are looking at maybe not really a service but launching a product or something like that? Like what kind of things did you pay very close attention to?
I think you've got to have a very distinctive view in your mind of what your ultimate goal is and what the goal looks like, visualizing where you want to be and what you want to be doing, and it ties in with like mindset coaching and stuff like that. It's being aware of what you want to be, where you want to go, and how it's going to look when you get there, and having your goals set out, having that destination in mind of where you're going to go to with things. With me with Fresh, I've seen a lot of meal prep companies. There's some unbelievable prep companies out there. I wanted to kind of like distinguish my company as more of like a gourmet kind of meal prep. So rather than your bland chicken, your bland rice, and your asparagus sticks, more like I say, the Thai green curries, your skinny lasagnas. So kind of like getting your Joe average person off the seat, away from like the takeaway menu, and like buying something that's going to be calorie controlled, macro controlled, specific to them and their goals, which is going to steer them towards their health and wellness goals. So I kind of wanted to go down that gourmet route, sort of.
And set yourself apart. And it is evident in the menu that you've got, like you mentioned there, skinny lasagna, but obviously like skinny parma must be one of your greatest sellers ever in Teesside, It's one of those that's really interesting was how you set up. Like you mentioned mindset there. We had our last episode, we had Dean Fox on, who was obviously a mindset coach and things like that. It's something that I know you're quite big on, and and thinking about it and stuff like that. Is it something that you would advise? Do you wish that you'd done more mindset stuff when you very first started out in business, or is it something that you've learned and it's evolved as you've moved on?
It's something that's kind of evolved and became more apparent recently, really. To be honest, like back in the day, it used to just be about like how to do the best bicep curl and it's kind of rubbish. But I think more now, it's when you're coaching people, it's looking at their behaviours and understanding what their behaviours are and why do they do it, what the triggers are, what the emotional responses are, and digging deep and kind of like debunking the funk, really, and sort of asking the questions, prompting the questions, and really opening that client's mind as to what it is they really want, and and sort of putting a plan together for them specifically, and creating that journey, that process, and having those goals in mind. But the big thing really is it's all in the mind really. You can know everything in the world, training wise, nutrition wise, and business wise, but if you haven't got the capacity there to sort of pre-plan, prepare, set your goals, set your targets, have that vision, you've effectively got an empty plan in front of you.
So do you do anything like specific for yourself when it comes to like goal setting and planning? Have you used any kind of like products or anything like that you've thought were like big wins for yourself, or like how do you kind of go and like structuring it, like, and how do you advise people on to do that, whether it be in business or like in their own personal life?
I think the big thing for me is just it's all in the planning, it's all in the preparation. What I like to do, I like to have like a morning routine and an evening routine. Yeah. So basically on a morning, it's waking up and, you know, not being responsive to those little dots on your mobile phone and notifications.
I'm terrible for that. I know me and you spoke about it previously. I'm so bad for it.
They will just control your life. They'll control your day, and you're forever catching up and dealing with what everybody else wants you to do before you actually putting yourself and your own priorities first. Yeah. So it's basically getting up in the morning, you know, I'll have a glance at my phone. Yeah. You know, if somebody's arm or legs falling off, then right,
massive fires.
I'm going to do something. Yeah. Or if one of my meals has, you know, caused a zombie outbreak and there's this virus and these zombies are eating each other and it's all because of my meals, then
I think I'd turn my phone off. Just turn it off and go back to bed at that point. You know, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, if the zombie apocalypse is going down, like, it's time to take some action. But if there's no apocalypse and nobody's arms and legs have fallen off, I'll just completely ignore my phone, pour myself a coffee, get a pen, get a pad, and just basically write down all the things that I need to do that day. Yep. And I'll put that in a sort of priority management. So I'll put like the big ones to do at the top, and then not so like significant ones towards the bottom. So I've got a structure for my day. I know exactly what I'm doing. And from there, I go to the gym, and I'll do like a good solid hour in the gym. Yep. Sometimes it's like a weight training session. I've been doing quite a lot of K1, like Thai boxing recently. Yeah. Really good for that sort of mental capacity and, you know, getting that kind of I don't know, just a bit of stress release, I guess.
Like the volume turned down kind of thing on everyday life.
Silences all of that commotion. Yeah, and just having that hour a day to myself, and then I'll get back, get showered, get changed, get my bag packed for my clients. I'll look at my to-do list, my daily planner, and I'll start going through the things that need doing. I'm a big fan of sort of doing 3 to 5 like imperative type of tasks. Those are the ones that mean a lot, and they're going to, you know, have a tangible effect on your business. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, you know, just literally getting those tasks done. And then what I usually do is kind of in the afternoon, if I've got time, or I always try to make time, but sitting down and doing like a little 15-minute meditation before I go over to train my clients. And then I usually train my clients, and on the night time, same again, it's that evening routine, switching like the notifications off on your phone, and just sort of watching a bit of telly, getting an actual bit of downtime. Yeah. And then again, before bed, it might be listening to a podcast, it might be listening to a meditation sequence before bed as well, and just having that kind of shut down. Yeah. So it's essential. I mean, I've just got back from 4 days out at Spain, and usually my phone's pinging off left, right and centre. And I literally, on Thursday night, finish work, finish training my clients, and I give my phone to my mum. Yep. And I was like, right, you've got 3 businesses to run. I've written her out, like, it took me about an hour to write this blueprint of what needed to be done in terms of scheduling posts, responding to emails, inquiries, processing orders. It took me ages putting this sort of plan together for her. I was just like, right, there you go, crack on. And I literally, that was it until 3 o'clock yesterday when I got reunited with my phone. So had a good sort of 4.5 days of just complete nothingness. And I told myself I was going to have 4 days of sitting down with a pen and pad whilst I'm around the pool, having my frozen strawberry daiquiris. And I was going to put some new plans into business and, you know, get more efficient and all this. But it kind of taught me a lesson that, you know, you've got to have that
downtime.
Yeah, you've got to have that downtime. You've got to turn that switch and just completely zone out from time to time.
And it is hard to do, you know, like, is one kind of trend that we're seeing, like, for a lot of business owners. And we talk a lot about, like, work-life balance and, like, I should say work-life balance, because everybody's different. There's not really, like, a blueprint for everyone saying, you know, you should work X amount of hours and you should be X amount at home and all this kind of thing. It's hard for when you own your own business to actually, like, you don't. A big part of it is that that you're so passionate about that you don't want to turn off really, but you do need it. It's a hard thing to measure. So, is there any tips that you would give for any people that have been able to do that? Would you recommend at least once a year, twice a year, having that time, or
I think me, I'm a family man myself, and I've been a sucker for years. Well, I still am. For being on my phone, checking emails, responding to people, and it detracts from your own personal time, your time with your family, time with others, and. When I was on holiday over the last few days, I sat there having my tea, overlooking the beach and the sun. And you sat there and you're looking around and you got families all on the phones, mum, dad, son, daughter, all that. Grandma's even knocking out some WhatsApps. Just generally not a lot of conversation, not a lot of communication. It's just a lot of dedication towards that little thing in your hand there. And I think you need that mental disconnection from time to time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's made me think... every sort of maybe 10 weeks, 12 weeks, just even if it's just a long weekend, 4 days away. Disconnect from that phone. And it kind of teaches you, well, it's taught me that, the world's not going to end if that message doesn't get responded to within 0.3 seconds.
Yeah, it's not as bad as what you think it would be.
Yeah, it's kind of made hard as well. Again, sort of social media, when you go on Instagram, Facebook, it's probably the same for yourself, Mike, when you see other companies... They're on it, they're there, they've got a presence, they're saying this, they're doing this, they've got this swanky video going on, and you kind of need to keep up the pace, and then, you've seen what everybody else is doing, you start comparing yourself to everyone else, and then you start mentally breaking down and thinking, oh shit, I've got all this to do, but it's all about keeping a focus on what you need to do for you, for your business, and staying on track, and having that downtime, and having those times of the day where you'll just switch your phone off. And have those sort of times in the day where you will be responsive to everybody else, but definitely do what you've got to do for yourself, and then everybody else can then slot in outside of that.
So, did you use are there any did you read any books, or were there any tools or something that helped you start to do this, or was there a light bulb moment where you thought, I'm really going to have to start I know morning routine, something that a lot of people are talking about at the moment, and a lot of people say having and meditation's another big one where that's helping them run better businesses, etc. Was there something that sparked it off with you, or was it just that you heard people are doing it?
I'd started to listen to more podcasts. I'm not a reader. I can't read. I can't stand just looking at a piece of paper with words, and it just does my head in. So I'm more of a I'm more of the podcast kind of guy. Driving to work, I'll listen to a podcast on the way in, I'll listen to one on the way back. I used to listen to ones just about training and nutrition, but then I sort of figured there's better things there's more valuable things I can be spending my time on. So I started to listen to more sort of business orientated, mindset kind of focused people. One guy that I listen to in particular, a guy called Dan Meredith. He's a guy from sort of down south. He's got all these multiple businesses, and he's done X, Y, and Z. And his kind of motto is forget the laws of attraction, it's the laws of action. And he's got a diary which I use. It's called the Get Shit Done Diary. So basically, how that sort of system works, it's unbelievable. Start of the week, you'll do a brain dump. So you'll sort of dump down all your tasks that you need to do for the week. You'll kind of score them on a scale of 1 to 3, and then you'll delegate that to certain times of the day, and you're ticking off these boxes, and you're aligning your goals and stuff like that. So that's a big powerful tool for me, is having that pen and paper time. I used to just record everything on my phone, but now I've took that switch to pen and paper, and that kind of helps me out a bit more.
It's sometimes a bit more tangible, isn't it? I think a lot of people still quite like it. That kind of thing. I know journaling's really big. People do what the grateful for in the morning. I've heard a couple of people say that's really good, and only have to pick 3 things. I can't remember it was said now, where you had to fit it on a post-it note, basically what you had to do for the day. So
it's so Dan Meredith, he was a big hit for me. A guy called Jamie Alderton, he used to be a fitness model, turned sort of personal trainer. He owned his own facility, etc. And he's sort of mindset with muscle. So that's all about, not just about training and diet. There's a lot of information on there about business and the mindset, and creating environment in your head.
He's the guy behind like Grenade, isn't he? Like Grenade bars and stuff that a lot of listeners will, be well aware of.
Yeah, but I'd say them two have been like quite influential in my decisions, what I've made, and the processes that I've put in place.
I think it's a good thing, and a lot of successful entrepreneurs always kind of realise that that success leaves clues. And it's good, like the age that we're in now, where we can pick from people and stuff like that. And hopefully people listen to this podcast and hear things like that and think, oh, well, I'll look at doing that. One of the things that we really wanted to talk about while you're here as well is that we talk about with everyone, obviously, is the community in Teesside. Your businesses are doing like quite a lot in the community. I know, for example, Fresh at Christmas just gone did a big initiative for the homeless, didn't they? Can you tell us like a little bit about that, like what happened in the details about that?
Yeah, it was a weird day, to be honest. Every action causes a reaction. I was sat in the gym. I think I had a couple of clients cancel the sessions that evening, so I had that little kind of few seconds where I was a bit defeated and I was a bit frustrated. And when you've got the stresses of like your day-to-day life, I've just had one of those kind of like hissy fit kind of moments. And I went to the toilet. I was stood there. I was, evacuating water, however you want to call it. And this sort of light bulb moment, I just sort of thought, wow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed loads of homeless people this Christmas. Yeah. It just came just all of a sudden from like a bad reaction, like a bad state of mind. Yeah. I kind of thought, right, park that aside. How can I feel better? Yeah, yeah. And I thought I can feel better by making other people feel better. Yeah, yeah. How can I tie that in with food? Yeah. Guess what? Let's feed some people. Yeah, yeah. and then from there, put a few shout outs on Facebook. Got talking to a few people. Had a talk with the kitchen because we've got a designated restaurant and like Michelin star chefs who do all the prep work. And I said, right, this is the idea. Christmas Day, Christmas dinner. Let's feed some people. So got in contact with a few churches and a few like volunteers and stuff like that. And I popped along to St. Aidan's. They were overjoyed with like the help and support that we provided. Yeah, and basically Christmas Day went over to the restaurant, picked up a good big bunch of food for these guys, and then we went over to St. Aidan's and dished it out to the homeless, and they were all happy on Christmas Day. There was more than enough food to go around, and it was just kind of like satisfaction on that you've helped somebody else. Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's not all about take. You've got to give. Yeah. It feels good to give. Does, especially being able to help people. Like I know your other business, like the educational business, is very much like structured to give back. Can you tell us like a little bit about that? Because it's something that like a lot of people, like we're going to have educators on and stuff like that, so it's something that a lot of people would like to know about. Yeah, I mean I do quite a bit of like strength and conditioning with kids at the moment, and they enjoy it. It's just a different sort of demographic. It's a different angle really, and myself and like my business partner for Physica, we kind of like seen a bit of a gap in the market. I personally spoke to a few kids and sort of said, what do you know about food? What do you know about, exercise and health and wellness? And a lot of them were just completely clueless. They didn't have like the basics. So I kind of thought I can bridge a gap there. And basically going to schools. Initially we've launched in primary schools. So basically going in, doing a presentation, for example, it might be on the heart, how the heart works, what it involves, what essentially it's there functionally wise for, why we need a heart. I guess we all need a heart, don't we? And just we'll sort of do a bit of a presentation on that, get the kids a bit more clued up on things, and sort of do a pre-test with them, do a post-test with them, get them to do a bit of practical application as well, so getting them to actually do little tests on each other and sort of scale each other, so they understand the importance of why you need to keep and maintain a healthy heart for the longevity of your life. And we have it's a number of seminars like that with the it's kind of like a theory and then the practical afterwards, and essentially the goal is to give these kids the right start and the right understanding of what they need to do, because people like obesity rates and health problems, mental health problems are just on the rise. So it's something that needs to be squashed like as soon as, to be honest. So
Obviously, like there's been a lot of stuff in the news recently about I know it's mental health month, etc. You know, and there's a lot of talk about that. But also there's a lot on. I know Jamie Oliver, for example, is campaigning to have like a junk food tax and stuff like that. I necessarily don't think that's the right way to go. You should probably just make healthy food cheaper, but that's a whole different topic. Where do you think that we've kind of gone wrong? You know, we've always kind of like everybody knows what healthy food is. You know, like if I had a Mars bar and an apple and asked somebody which is healthier, most people would know. But it's kind of like, what do you think? What you're doing is like a great step, in the right direction. Like, are you hoping to scale it out? Like, what do we? Let's say I had a magic wand, and what would we need to do to fix this problem? When it comes to education and stuff like that, where do you think we've kind of gone wrong, and where do we need? Is it starting at home? Is it education? Is it school dinners? Is it the junk food's ready available? I think within kids, not everybody. We'll leave adults alone.
Yeah, I think it's just all the above. I mean, it's the education for the kids, it's the education for the parents, it's the convenience. Once again, it's the whole sort of social media world where we're all fixated on this, spending too much time on this when we should be focusing more on that and spending more time, cooking with our kids and, sort of tooling them up for life really and showing them how to cook and what's right, what's wrong. Obviously convenience, there's lots of food out there. There's, a lot of accessibility to it all. School dinners doesn't sort of help the situation, but I'm aware there is changes on the horizon. And
I think that there are I remember being in school and it was literally just your choices were pizza and chips or a sandwich kind of thing. As far as I know, it's a lot better now than what it used to be. One of the things that you probably get asked a lot is when it comes to nutrition for kids, obviously you're father of yourself, 2 young children. What kind of stuff do you do with your own kids and stuff like that? I imagine that a lot of people have probably got the slanted view that you never allow them to have a biscuit, etc., which is probably, nowhere near the truth. But is there certain things that you become more mindful as you become a dad? Or
I think you definitely become more mindful. It's for me personally, I've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they love the biscuits. They love
it's all kids
all
too,
stuff.
Yeah.
I think it needs to kind of be conditioned from a young age, why they should have this, why they shouldn't have that, or have a bit more of this. But at the end of the day, when you're a kid, you're a kid. You know what I mean? You kind of enjoy your sugary stuff and your fun stuff, your turkey twizzlers, turkey dinosaurs. They're all good fun. And spelling your name with alphabets as well. That's the one.
That's a classic.
But with my kids, we have bits of fruit, we have bits of yogurt and stuff like that. I wouldn't say we're some kind of whole organic, we're eating grass and
living in the woods type thing.
Absolutely no chance. But as long as there's some kind of balance to it all, I think that's the key, to be honest. Rather than completely eradicating choices and options, it's just being sensible and having stuff in moderation.
Common sense.
I mean, it's one thing I preach with my clients. I would never say to my clients, you've got to eat, every morning eggs, every lunchtime chicken and broccoli and salad. That's just boring. Nobody wants to eat like that.
No.
And it's all about kind of rather than restricting and depriving yourself of certain things, it's just eating in moderation and just being mindful.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of message that needs to be sort of filtered through to the young ones and the kids as well. You have your typical kid food, but you need to get some kind of nutrition in there, and some kind of system of education and coaching and support around making everything else more accessible. And
when I was away recently with a few friends, and one of the family that were with Claire and Stu, they kind of had they've got a young son who's 3 called Max, and they kind of not had a barter system, but it was kind of if you want a treat, you have already eaten so many pieces of healthy food. And it was great to see that conversation kind of them, and he was like, oh, Mummy can have an ice cream. Well, how many healthy pieces? Oh, I've had 2. Well, how many do you need? Or 3. Oh, well, if you have if you eat something healthy now, then a little bit later you can have your ice cream kind of thing. And it was great for him to kind of sit there, and he knew what was healthy and what wasn't, and he was kind of thinking, oh, well, if I, and you could see him at mealtimes thinking, I want an ice cream for after, so I'll have 2 apples with my lunch and stuff like that. And it was a great way just to see him kind of work out. I thought it was a really good idea. one of the things that we always like talk to people about is the startup culture in Teesside is the biggest of anywhere in the country. We have the most startups of anywhere. Obviously, you've been in business now for a long time. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to somebody? It doesn't have to be in the fitness industry, just in business in general, or in the fitness industry. What advice would you give to them starting up now? Like anywhere, it doesn't have to be in Teesside, but
I think you've just got to have that distinctive vision of what you want and how you want it. Mm-hmm. Sort of. I've recently done like a mindset and goal setting workshop. It was in Essex, the start of the year actually. And one thing that the guy there, he sort of he just said to us, right, okay, when you're dead, you're in your coffin, right? People are at your funeral. Who's there?
Yeah.
Why are they there?
Yeah.
Do they want to be there?
Yeah.
What impact have you had on their lives? And what mark have you left on them? You know what I mean? What's your legacy? What do you want to be renowned for?
Yeah.
And then basically sort of knowing when you're dead, what you're remembered for and why, etc. And then sort of digressing back 20 years from there, 10 years, 5 years, 3 years from now, 2 year, 1 year, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, and basically sort of planning and putting the procedures in place now, and putting the actions in place now to pave that path long term. So I guess like in this sense, it's kind of like having an end goal in mind of where you want to be in business, and sort of digress down to where you need to be, every 3 months, every 3 weeks, every 3 days, and setting those targets, setting those goals, and just aim high really, and just push the boundaries as much as you can. And it's all just about sort of priority management and time management, like we mentioned before. Just managing those processes and taking the opportunities as well, and sometimes just completely thinking outside of the box. And just jumping on anything that comes your way really, and as you're aware, Mike, as well as myself, it's all about sort of networking, getting in front of groups of people, and taking on other people's opinions and views and stuff to sort of mold and create your future and your business really. But definitely diversifying from what the general day to day are doing. You need to be different, in my opinion, to make yourself stand out, because there's that much competition.
Oh, massively so.
But if you want anything, it's there. You've just got to make it work in your head. You've just got to put the plans together in your head and put the actions in place.
Networking, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's something that always comes up in every podcast. Like somebody's done some version of it, and it's either we've both done it in the past through various organisations and stuff. Either people seem to be completely against it or indoctrinated into it to the point of it being a bit culty and weird. Like, do you think that it's a good thing for business to start doing it? And do you think it's pros and cons? Like, would you consider going back into it? Like, obviously, we've, as a business, taken a step away from it. What are your thoughts on it within Teesside at the moment? Because everybody's, like, so, different.
I think it's all depends on you as a business and you as a person, really, where you are. I mean, I've done business networking for a number of years. It works really well for me. It works really well for some particular businesses and not so much for others. So I think it's knowing your target audience, really. I think you need to know, like, who you're aiming towards, what your demographic is, and who then people kind of like associate with, because some of the people that you want to get to know, because they're going to filter down to the people on ground level. So I'd definitely recommend business networking, business meetings, and just general networking as a whole, because although you might talk to 200 people, there might be one person that understands you, is on the same wavelength as you. That might give you that little tiny idea, which will just explode into a big venture.
And that's true, and it has happened with ourselves. Like, even though we don't currently do it, there's still like people that that we still do business with, that that are vital to our business, and etc. We still work with them. So even if you don't stay in it, then you still build those. Might not build a relationship with everybody, but you might build a couple of people that really matter. So, but again, like you're saying there, like it's knowing what you want. Like comes back to that planning thing that you were obviously on about before, which I think some people are great at. Where some people are like all action and don't plan. Or you get some people that make loads and loads of plans who never take action. It's like quite a tricky thing to get the balance right, and I think people end up like trying to come, a bit like that, like a pendulum, I suppose, from one into the other.
Yeah.
Do you find that you're naturally more of a planner, or you're more head down and you've made yourself become more of a planner through like education that you were on about earlier this year, etc.?
I think I've always been a bit of a process type of person.
Yeah.
So I think any outcome is driven by a process.
Yeah.
So for me, you look at your outcome, what you want, and you put the processes in place to manage.
Yeah.
To make that outcome a reality. So,
Yeah.
I'm like I say, I'm process driven. So I'm very kind of like OCD with having the right plans in place and following the procedure for the right relevant outcome. Really, some people choose to kind of like wing it.
Yeah.
That's totally cool if that works for them.
Yeah.
Some people like the planning, some people like this style of management and X, Y, and Z. But it's all down to you as a person, like what fits best with yourself and with your business, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm that process kind of robot.
I think that it's like process should have its place in all businesses. Obviously, to the degree of that depends on, like you say, the person, etc. But definitely, like in fitness and things like that, I think it's probably something that's lacking in a lot of circumstances. And it is very clear, the more like I think about it now that you're here, of how you structured your marketing and etc. for Fresh was very, very, methodical in the way that you do things, and it makes like complete sense. So we're now going to get the section of the podcast where we're going to start asking everybody 3 questions. Not all the 3 questions might apply to everyone, but we're just going to try to get like a bit of continuity between all the episodes, really, and try and add value for people at home.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what does success look like to you? And obviously it's different for everybody. For some people it might be dollars in a bank account, some people it might be driving a Ferrari, some people it might be retiring at 40. Like, it shouldn't be the same for everybody, but what does it look like for you?
I'd say a blacked out Hummer with twin lesbians in the back in a jacuzzi.
Oh, fair enough. I noticed that you drove up in one earlier. I wondered, I thought it was a new car.
I think, to me, if I saw someone who they've got the shit together, they've got a good business, they've got the work-life balance in order, mentally they're in control, where they want to be, they're in control of the physique, they're happy with how they look. Generally, if someone's happy, that speaks success to me. No matter what's in the bank account to a degree, no matter what car you drive, I think if you've got your shit together, and you're achieving, and you're not overworking, you're having time to yourself, like I say, time for your family, and you've got the whole kind of like balancing act done. That to me is more successful than someone who's turning over million pound businesses day in, day out, whatever. Yeah, definitely.
A good sense of balance in your life.
Yeah.
Which is hard, it's not easy. The second thing we're going to start asking everybody, what one thing have you got in your life that you're currently obsessed with? Could be anything. Could be an item you've bought, book, TV show you're watching, album you're listening to. What at the moment is like really got your attention?
It's I've just recently started getting back into my fight training. I used to do like Muay Thai a long time ago, good sort of 10 years ago. And I kind of like had a big stint of time away from it. And I've just recently, over the last like 2 or 3 weeks, got back into it, and there's sort of like that the kind of mindset of that type of like being in the gym and doing the pad work, doing the sparring. Love that kind of mentality. It just kind of takes you away. Like one of my clients, actually one of my personal training clients, he's been with me for 9 years. He's followed me from different gyms throughout the Northeast. And one day he said to me, like, the reason I come to you for like 3 sessions a week, Matt, it's because I get 3 hours out of my week, my business week, where I don't have to think about business or anything. I can switch off. And I kind of didn't really get that when he said that to me. But just recently, getting back into the Thai box and the K1, when I've been having my one-on-one sessions with my coach, it's a couple of hours of the week where I don't have to think about business, don't have to think about anything. And I think that's like an imperative to you as a person to develop yourself as a person, as a business.
It's like kind of like an active form of meditation, really, isn't it? Like that head space kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm probably that dickhead in the gym who's like shadow boxing in front of the mirror at the moment. I'm a complete knobhead.
It's all right. We'll all give you a wave when we see you. And the last question is: have you had any failure or big failure in business that's actually like turned around and turned into a success? Something that's, you know, seemed terrible at the time, but actually was a bit of a, you know, a blessing in disguise.
I've got a quote. It's floating around in my head. It's like a bee, like flying around. Am I going to hit it? Am I clever enough? Christ, I'll have to dig it out.
Yeah.
It was probably going to blow the podcast away.
It was the best thing we've ever.
Quote you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
What was the question? Failures? Yeah.
Yeah.
So opportunity. Oh God, I've tried to hit it there, but no. Yeah, with every failure, there's always going to be success. So no matter what drawback, there's always something good going to come of it, and that's with every aspect in life, I believe. Anyway, whether it's in your personal life and business, short-term pain, long-term gain. I live by that saying, really. So although something might not go your way, you might get a bad decision, you might make a bad decision, you know, you might lose some kind of like opportunity or something. That's because there's a more solid, better opportunity out there for you to capitalise on.
That's awesome. So if people are wanting to get in touch with you, either for yourself, for Fresh, or obviously the educational product, where are the best places for people to find you?
So from a Fresh business, my website's freshthemealprepco.co.uk.
Which will be linked below.
My personal email address, you know, mattjordinson@outlook.com. I can, like, you know, help anyone out with, you know, any sort of health and wellness, fitness goals, or any additional information on meal prep and physique, etc. That's where you can find me, Mike.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And all that will be linked below. Thank you so much for coming on today, bud.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
The Teesside Business Podcast is promoted and produced by Person to Person Marketing, and this has been episode 11. Thank you very much for listening.